Neat Games. Hello world, Neat Games here, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My main project is Heatseed. It's a work in progress RPG. And these days I've been showing my side project. It's my first attempt at a mobile game. It's a life tree simulator. The name is still pending, and I'm trying to make it a super chill mobile game. If you want to see either of these, check out my previous devlogs. This devlog is about the game I made in less than 48 hours for the Game Maker Toolkit Game Jam. As many of you know, I live in Korea, and the theme came out at 3 AM here, so I couldn't watch the live premiere. Instead, I woke up as early as I could, which turned out to be about 5:30 AM thanks to my super neat cat, and I checked out the announcement video ASAP. And this year's theme was...
joined together. I want to see games where at least two elements are connected together in some way. What does it mean for them to be joined? What does it mean for that connection to break? As always, you can interpret this theme however you like.
So now that I had the theme, the first thing I usually do is Google it up. I like to see the synonyms of the words and various images to help jumpstart my brainstorming. And actually, I went with the first idea that popped in my head. I know some people say not to do that, because many assume it will be a commonly used idea. But I prefer to start working ASAP, especially when it's only 48 hours. I never pull all-nighters, and I need my 7-ish hours of sleep. And I don't want to have extra stress. This is supposed to be fun times. So my first idea was a robot that splits into two parts that you can control individually, and then you can come back together as the full robot. Even before this game jam started, I kinda wanted to do a platforming game again. It's been a while since I've done one, and they are really fun to make. I love things like the parallax backgrounds and working with tile maps and making their tile map level design. If you didn't know, my first Steam game was a platforming game called Super Neat Cat, and that game's character is based on my real-life cat right here. I had a sprite sheet with a Mega Man-like character, so I took that and tweaked it and colored it to how I wanted it to be. Then I worked on the tiles in the background while also thinking about why does the player need to break apart and come back together. To keep the scope low, I wanted to be really simple. So I thought, well, the upper body will be the crawling mechanic because it's already low to the ground and it can fit in the tight spaces. And the legs will jump higher because the weight of the upper body is missing. And the full robot has its 2 energy cores, giving it enough power to shoot their eye laser to fight enemies and break walls. Once I had this idea, I took the full robot animation and I cut it in half. I just had to add a little extra connection bit on the top of the legs, and then I just had to tweak the arm animation for the crawl. I'm a visuals first type of game developer. I like having things look nice early on, and it gives me motivation to reach the final outcome. Also, it makes playtesting the game way more visually appealing, so I always do the art first. Of course, I can change the art throughout development, but also sometimes it never changes. I knew I had some good base platforming code that I could easily implement and tweak for this game. So firstly, I focused on making the new code that I've never done before. And the majority of that code was the splitting body parts and the switching controls for them, and then the coming back together mechanics. It was actually pretty fun to figure out, and not too stressful because luckily I got started on it very early in the day. Though it did go through many iterations. Some of the biggest challenges were things like making it work with the other systems, like the checkpoint system and the death respawn system. I knew I had to do checkpoints, because that is always the biggest complaint I got on my previous platforming games. No checkpoints mean people don't finish the game often because they're frustrated to start from the very beginning over and over, and most people don't beat your game on the first run. And man, look at this crazy spaghetti code I came up with. I instantiate this, I activate that, I comment this out, I look for objects with tags, like 100 tags, oh my god. But the cool thing is it actually kinda works. But for some reason, I couldn't get the switching to work on one button. I tried for like 2 or 3 hours. Originally, I wanted tab to do everything. Push tab to separate, and then push it again to switch between upper and lower body. But alas, I couldn't make it work. So I ended up putting everything on 3 separate buttons because it seemed to work the best. Because coding is my greatest weakness, it took about 8 hours total just to get the switching code working. I knew it was time to move on. Even though it wasn't perfect, I didn't want to waste any more time on it. So now that the code was satisfactory, I used the remaining time making levels. I had fun designing a few puzzles and then building small levels around them. When starting the levels, my initial goal was to make a vertical slice of one really polished and finished level. The reason is I could just duplicate that level, and all I'd have to do is erase the tile map and then build the new tile map and puzzles and design. All the important stuff is finished, like the checkpoint manager, audio manager, the particle system, the UI, etc. Once I had the first level done, it was time for bed, and I had a nice 7 hours of good sleep. On Sunday, I made the remaining 3 levels, plus a thank you for playing goofy, silly end credits level. After that, I decided to end development a bit early because I knew I would have bugs with the WebGL build. There usually are, especially with things like UI positions and the UI scaling. Luckily this time, no UI trouble. However, unluckily, I had a new problem that I never experienced before. And boy am I glad that I tried to upload the browser build early. I struggled for 2 hours to even make the itch browser version load. The game would load to 90% and then freeze and never finish loading. After researching and reading stuff all over the internet and trying a few methods, I finally found a solution that worked for me. I found out if you turn off all the compression in the player settings for the WebGL builds, it makes it easier for the server to load your game. And yay, it worked! Even with the compression off, the zipped game folder was only 3 megabytes bigger. So why all the fuss about a WebGL build, you might ask? Well, after doing many game jams, I've seen that play-in browser games literally get 5 to 10 times the amount of ratings and plays. I guess in general, people are just too lazy to download a game, or they don't want to fill their precious hard drive space. Especially in these huge game jams where there are an overwhelming amount of games to try. People just like the convenience of play-in browser games. Now that the game was loading, I did some full playtest runs in the itch browser. I had to re-upload a few times because there were some missing colliders and players would get soft-locked out of puzzles, so I fixed a few of those. I think I played through the game maybe 10 times to try and catch as many problems as possible, but it seems I did miss some bugs. If you look at my comments, you can see people ran into some fun situations with duplication. Things like multiple robots or multiple legs. It's hard to catch everything in 48 hours. It was getting late and I had to wake up early on Monday for work. So right before I was gonna go to sleep, I made my itch page look better. And I did things like make the background, make a banner, and also added a GIF thumbnail for the game. If you didn't know, EasyGIF.com is the best website to make GIFs. So many cool tools to adjust and edit up a perfect GIF. I highly recommend it. After work, I could finally reply to comments and start playing some other games. Thanks to everyone that has played my game, I was surprised that I got quite a few plays and ratings with no promotion. I'm having fun playing a bunch of cool games, and I've rated more than 40 so far. As I mentioned earlier, my game did have a few bugs. It's funny, I always playtest a lot, but I never find some of the major bugs. I guess it's because I know how it's intended to be played. But during these short game jams, it's hard to find outside playtesting time. But I'm still happy with how it turned out. Also, I'm happy that it wasn't too stressful making this game. I think I managed my time well and didn't get hung up on too many problems. Honestly, making devlogs is way more stressful than doing game jams. I hate hearing my voice over and over while editing. But I really love reading all your comments and suggestions after uploading it. They are a great motivation for me to keep making games. Thanks for watching! If you want to try the game, the link is in the description. See you later, and happy game deving, everyone! I'm not sure when the next devlog will be. My real life is crazy busy these days, but I still squeeze in a bit of game dev every day. Also, great job to everyone who's doing the hashtag 100 days of game dev on Twitter. It's nice to read and see your posts every day. Well, that's it. Bye bye. Neat game.